Hyte Y70, also known as the fish tank PC, was one of the most popular cases of 2022, and with that came mods. People added distro plates and screens, and Hyte was like,
customization, write that down, write that down!
And they started making some factory mod options of their own. Fast forward to today, and we have the Hyte Y70 Touch. It has a touch screen on the front, it's also bigger. There's quite a lot to unpack here, so let's get into it right after this quick word from today's sponsor. This video is brought to you by bobkeys.com. You guys know the drill. You've just finished building your brand new PC, you boot it up, and bam, that hideous Activate Windows watermark appears. And the worst part is you forgot to budget $200 for an activation key from Microsoft because you spent it all on RGB. But that's okay, because you don't need to spend $200. You can pick one up from today's video sponsor, bobkeys.com, for a tenth of the price. The best part is you can use my code TT25 for 25% off, which takes this already cheap Windows 10 Pro key from around $22 to $16. If you're in the UK, that's £13. You place your order, your activation code gets added to your orders page, you whack it into the Windows activation screen, and boom, you're fully activated. No more watermarks being burned into your retinas. TT25 for 25% off, link in description. So let's address the elephant in the room, the touchscreen. So it comes pre-installed, no janky tape here. I'll put the specs up on screen for you guys. I will say it's a very sharp looking display, being essentially a 4K panel, and the colors look fantastic. Obviously it's a touchscreen as well, which is a very unique addition. Now, if you're wondering how it connects to your PC, it needs a SATA power, a USB 2.0 header on your motherboard so it can talk to the Hyte Nexus software, along with DisplayPort, which I think was a sensible choice considering HDMI is pretty scarce on GPUs. Now, this actually routes to the back of the case. You can see it finishes up here on this half-height PCI expansion slot. They do include a short DisplayPort cable so you can hook it up to your GPU. It comes inside this box hiding in the hard drive cage. We'll talk more about the software and functionality later. In the meantime, let's check out some of the specs of the case. Now, it still has that same modern fish tank aesthetic that we all know and love. 3-piece panoramic glass design that allows you to see all your hardware, cool abstract patterns on all the panels, and overall it's just a very nicely built case. It definitely has a premium feel to it. There's 4 color options: black, white black, red black, and the Snow White edition, which is the one we have here. Now, a lot of people have been asking, is it bigger than the Y60? Yes, it is. Here's a comparison. So slightly taller, slightly wider, although retaining the dual chamber design, so the PSU sits hidden away in the rear compartment with loads of space for cables. On paper, it's about a 16% increase in overall volume. Now, this size increase is especially good news for rich people, because while an RTX 4090 could physically fit in the Y60, Hyte didn't really recommend it since it gets pretty choked for airflow being so close against the glass. Clearance isn't so much of a problem with the Y70. You can see even with this Palette RTX 4090 Bling Bling edition installed, there's decent space between the fans and the glass. We'll cover temps later on in the video. Just like with the Y60 though, vertical GPU mounting is the only supported configuration here, and once again a color-matched PCIe 4.0 riser cable is included and comes pre-installed inside the case. There are 7 half-height PCI expansions behind the GPU as well, so you can mount extra hardware here like sound cards. As far as motherboard support goes, pretty much anything is going to fit with support for even eATX motherboards. We are using a full-size ATX in this build. Max cooler height is 180mm. Again, plenty of clearance here with the increased width of the case, although an all-in-one liquid cooler is definitely the preferred method of cooling here. Speaking of cooling, fan and radiator support is pretty extensive with support for up to 360mm radiators up top. That includes 280mm. Same deal on the side too. We've got 3 120mm fans installed on here. In the rear, there's space for up to a 140mm fan or radiator. And then finally, in the bottom, you can fit up to 3 120mm fans or 2 140mm fans. So plenty of options for cooling with up to 10 fans total, although it's worth noting the case doesn't come with any fans of its own. You'll have to buy those separately. So good job the case is cheap. In terms of dust filters, there's 3 altogether. 2 of them are built into the case panels. The other one is a removable mesh filter that slots into the bottom of the case. So general cleaning and maintenance shouldn't be too much of a hassle. Now, over on the front is where you'll find this rather interesting tactile mechanical switch power button. I think this is the first time I've actually seen this on a PC case. It's pretty cool. And for front I/O, we've got 2 USB-A 3.2 Gen 1 ports, 1 USB-C 3.2 Gen 2. There's also a headphone mic combo jack here as well. In terms of other unique quality of life features, there's a few to talk about. We have a bunch of labels on different areas of the case, which I always thought looked quite cool. I suppose it has a somewhat functional aspect to it as well. There's dedicated dedicated storage sleds for your hard drives, so that's 2 3.5-inch HDDs or 4 2.5-inch SSDs. All the main case panels have a toolless design, so they're easy to remove. There's lots of tie-down points in the rear of the case as well for cable management, along with these really big Velcro straps on the floor of the case, which are especially useful for keeping some of the bulkier cables under control. Yeah, cable management is really not an issue in this case. I'd say overall it's an extremely easy case to build in. You really shouldn't run into any problems or frustrations while building. Oh, I also noticed they redesigned the rubber grommets. They were very flimsy and had the tendency to fall out on the Y70. That is not an issue anymore. Good job here. Let's talk more about the standout feature then, the touchscreen. So to run and take advantage of all of the features, you'll need to download and install the Hyte Nexus software. The homepage is loaded with widgets that show all the essential stuff, GPU and CPU temps, PC storage, that kind of stuff. Now all of this is customizable, so in the software you can change things like the order of the widgets, you can add new widgets. It's all pretty intuitive. Now I must say, the way they've implemented all of this and designed the software is absolutely awesome. It feels fluid and like it's actually been designed for the display, not just an afterthought. There's no convoluted IDA 64 setup like you'd have to do with other sensor panel displays. Perhaps a little bit gimmicky. Other than that, I don't really see myself using it for any work-related tasks, but as far as displays go, it is beautiful to look at. A nice wallpaper can go a long way in customizing the look of your PC. It's also very useful to be able to glance at things like your temps and FPS. Yeah, I very much like what they've done here so far. I definitely think the software has a little ways to go in terms of features, but honestly, so far I'm pretty impressed with how polished it feels. All right, finishing up with thermals. I'm not going to go too scientific or in-depth here because you've got Tech Jesus for that, but I tried running it with an i9-14900K along with an RTX 4090, so literally worst case scenario as far as components go. Now for most people, Hyte recommends you go the liquid cooler route with a top-mounted radiator for the CPU set as an exhaust. That way the GPU gets as much cool airflow as possible. I decided to go with a 360mm AIO for the 4900K. Meanwhile, there's 3 120mm intakes on the side. By the way, these are reverse fan blades if you're wondering why they look like exhausts. Aesthetics. There's also 3 120mm intakes on the bottom, along with a rear 120mm exhaust. So fully populated fan slots. So after about 30 minutes of playing Cyberpunk 2077 at max settings on my ultra-wide, I was getting an average of around 70 degrees on the CPU. Meanwhile, on the GPU, we were hitting average temps of 62 degrees. So really not that bad on my personal system. I'd be perfectly comfortable running this case as a daily driver, even with these kind of specs. Obviously, with a more mid-tier system, temps are going to be even better. Either way, for a panoramic glass case, it's not bad at all. All right, on to the best part, the price. It's $360. Yeah, it's expensive. But is it too expensive for what it offers?
Too expensive.
I mean, the Hyte Y70 was $200, so it's another $160 on top of that. You can see where they kind of got their pricing from, though, since they were charging $150 for their DIY LCD upgrade kit for the Y60. So, I mean, technically, if you think about it, for an extra $10, you get a bigger case, a more polished, a much higher resolution pre-installed screen, and I guess you have to somewhat factor the software element into that as well. So, I mean, it's a bargain, really, isn't it? Yeah, it's still super expensive, but it's aesthetic. Anyway, that'll do it for this video. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Are you thinking of buying this case for your next PC build, or are you going to use it as a fish tank? If you want to check it out, I have the links down below in the description. Drop a like on this video if you enjoyed, hit that subscribe button if you're new, and we'll catch you all in the next one. Now, this size increase is especially good news for rich people, because while an RTX